great-grandmother in the face and find out she's taken a bribe. Now let's take a look, for example, at the health of America. The World Health Organization made a statement that it is going to cost America $1.5 trillion a year just taking care of patients who have AIDS in hospitals. That's going to be by the year 2000. 7 years away. $1.5 trillion. That is our whole budget right now, $500 billion in arrears. Can we do that? Don't ever think that old Bill Clinton's health care plan is going to be free to you. If you're paying $1.5 trillion bucks, something's wrong, something's got to give. It's not free, it's going to come out of your wage earnings. Think about it for a moment. Doesn't a slave have a health care program? A slave does. Because if the master wants to get any production out of the slave, if the slave is ill, the master has to provide something to get the slave back on their feet and working again, don't they? So don't think it's any great privilege to say, I want my health care program. Oh, you'll get your health care program all right. I want my this, I want my that. And next thing you know, what are you trading for? 200 years ago, this nation roared for liberty. What are we doing today? Down on our knees, whimpering for security. I want my health care program. If you had all that you made and it wasn't taken out in 35% tax, and it looks like it's going to go very soon to 50, then you wouldn't need a federal health care program. And something else, when we rout out the AMA doctors that run the Food and Drug Administration, with naturopathic experts. These are not voodoo people. These are people that know that living better through chemistry is great for DuPont, that it doesn't get America back on our feet as a healthy nation. When we put those people in, we're going to have cures. Do you think we have cures for AIDS today in America? Yes, we do. How about cancer? Of course we do. Why aren't they available? Because there's no profit in it. Lorraine Day has agreed to be the Surgeon General. She told me that the head of cancer research is now head of AIDS research because there's more money to be made in AIDS. Now there was a Hollywood star die here, the guy that played Psycho. And I was interested, it just happened yesterday I believe on CNN, I saw these different movie stars and they were saying, we've just got to put more money into AIDS research. We've just got to have more research into AIDS. Friends, we've got the cures. I'm not the expert, but I'm identifying experts. If you are, I need to know who you are. I know, for example, that in not one fungus, not one bacteria, not one virus can live in an oxygen-intensive environment. As a matter of fact, the largest ozone generator in the world is in Moscow. It purifies all of the water. Well, ozone must be very expensive. Every time lightning strikes, that's not the New World odor. That is ozone. All you have to do to make ozone is pass oxygen over an electrical field, and you have O3. Whoops. You mean, and just back me up, test me if you're an expert, because I've already checked these things with the laboratory results of the experts. And I'm talking about the experts that are under the AMA. Can one fungus, one virus, one bacteria live in an oxygen-intensive environment? What's the answer? No. The answer is no. If that is the case, why aren't we treating AIDS with oxygen therapy? No money in it. That's exactly right. And so as the President of the United States, our own health organization, the U.S. Health Organization, said there will be 10 times more AIDS in the next few years than there is right now here in America. Friends, something is wrong. We have got to win this thing. We will win it. Bush could do it. Clinton could do it. Anyone could do it. But will they? No. I don't think they will. And so we've got its time. It's like 1776. It's not a time for lawyers. And by the way, don't worry about lawyers, because Lorraine Day said Bo, they're finding spots for these people, so you can go ahead and feel like with free conscience just to fire them all. They're using them in the laboratories in lieu of rats because there are more lawyers today than there are rats. And she said the laboratory technicians don't feel the affinity or the closeness to the lawyers the way they do when they keep the rats around as pets for a long time. And she said finally there's just some things you can't get a rat to do. So there's plenty of jobs for lawyers. They're going to be well cared for. Don't worry about it. The point is, let's be very serious. Do we have to get America out of debt? Yes. We do have to. There's no ifs, ands, buts, ors, and nors about it. Do we have to get America back on her feet as a healthy nation? Yes. We have to. These are pivotal issues. Otherwise, we don't go on as Americans. We can't pay $1.5 trillion. I mean, I think these health industry, research, and medical facilities would love it, don't you? We're going to have all the money. Well, by gosh, it's not going to be that way. Because somewhere we've got to stop this world. And we've got to put people, I think it's time for soldiers. It's time for Saturday's warriors. It's time for people who understand that America is our birthright, given to us. We are the servants. We are the stewards. We're supposed to take care of this Garden of Eden that's given to us. And what have we allowed to happen? Boy, it has grown up in weeds like we don't even have in Sandy Valley, Nevada. So it's time to get Roto-Rooter out. It's time to get the bulldozers, and we're just going to have to push some of these people aside, some of these systems. It's simple, but is it easy? Now the last thing that I think is pivotal, I mean really pivotal, is our sovereignty. George Bush stood before the United Nations this year, 1992, and he said, quote, "It is to the sacred UN Charter that we and all people will now and forever pledge our allegiance." Friends, that's bad news. That doesn't sound like a president of the United States. That sounds like a presider over the New World Order. And I don't like the sound of it at all. George Bush said last year in 1991 on C-SPAN, "Whatever I am, whatever I become," he said, "I owe to who?" Thank you. Some of you saw it also. David Rockefeller. Something's wrong with all that. I had a person in Denver ask me, just about a month ago we were there, and she said, "Bo, what's wrong with this New World Order? What's wrong with global government? Isn't this the millennium that we've been promised in the scriptures?" What do you think the answer is to that? Oh, we're going to have perfect government, but I don't think it's going to be under David Rockefeller, or it's not going to be under the Rothschilds in Europe. Who's the owner of the Federal Reserve? Are they Americans primarily? No, they're Europeans. We fought the War of Independence. We fought the War of 1812 to get them out of our pockets. They tried to divide us during the Civil War. God be praised for Abraham Lincoln. When they wanted to borrow $450 million, and the banks were going to loan it at a mere 25% interest, Abe Lincoln said, something's wrong. It's not right that we should burden our children of tomorrow with our debts of today. And so he refused the bank loans from England. It was France who was sponsoring the South. It was England that was sponsoring the North, and he printed greenbacks. Now, there wasn't any gold or silver behind them, but there wasn't any usury either. Do you know what the debt of the United States would be if he had not printed those greenbacks? They killed him for it, didn't they? They said Abraham Lincoln is irrational. They said he's a radical. They said he's an extremist. They said he can't do this, but he did. It would have been $131 trillion at 10% interest. It would have been $15 sextillion at 20. I don't even know what a sextillion, how much is that? But that's what it figures out at 20%. I can't even pronounce the figure at 25%. And so you see, we did have divinely inspired leadership throughout our evolution as a nation of today. By the way, and so sovereignty, let me hit this thing, pin the tail on the donkey here. I would pull us out of the United Nations. I think it's godless. David Rockefeller owns the land on which the United Nations is built. Let him rent it out as a condominium. It's all right if the UN wants to continue to stay there, but not at the cost of the sovereignty of the United States. Is there anyone who has doubt about what is going on here? I have documents that should take away any doubt. We're talking everywhere about this New World Order, on the threshold of the New World Order. George Bush even says, I hope the Gulf War is recorded in history as the crucible of this New World Order. He said, I am going to achieve the objective of the founders of the United Nations. Who was the founder of the United Nations? Alger Hiss. In one word, what was he? Thank you. A communist. And 11 other signers of the UN Charter were communists. Do you think George Bush is ignorant of that? I don't believe so. Anyway, everywhere you go, it's all over the place about the New World Order. These blue helmets are everywhere. It's kind of interesting because here is the preamble to the Constitution. Only this isn't the United States preamble. This is to the new states Constitution. It is called the World Constitution. It says, therefore, the age of nations must end.